Bible secrets you probably didn't know.
All right, let's see it.
In the book of Genesis, chapter 5, you will find a genealogy that stems from Adam to Noah. And most people, when they come across these genealogies, they skim over them and don't think too much about them. But what I want to show you today is a secret message that contains the gospel in it, right here in this genealogy. Because if you take the name of each person in this genealogy and you put them in order and then translate them to their meaning, you find this encrypted message. Man appointed mortal sorrow, the blessed God shall come down, teaching and discipling. His death shall bring despairing rest and comfort. It's crazy to think that even in some of the most boring parts of the Bible, there is a hidden gospel message lying just underneath.
So these claims are all made up. This is entirely inaccurate, and it all comes from Chuck Missler, who first published these claims in 1994 in his book Beyond Coincidence. And Missler had no qualifications related to biblical Hebrew or philology or biblical studies in general. He was just an amateur using folk translations of these Hebrew names and cobbling together this sentence from his naivete. So here's what this content creator suggests these names all mean. Let's take a look. First, Adam equals man. Fair enough. Adam is just the Hebrew word for human, humanity, man. That's great. Seth equals appointed. Now, in Missler's sentence, there's a parenthetical is between man and appointed. The idea is man is appointed mortal sorrow, which understands appointed in the passive, meaning the man is the object of the verbal action. The man is the one having something appointed to him. And while appointed in English could be in the passive or in the active, in Hebrew, Seth is very clearly the active form. If it were passive or reflexive, which is where the individual is both the subject and the object of the verb, the form would be different. Seth does not mean that someone is appointed something. Seth means someone is appointing something. So already the sentence falls apart. It cannot mean man is appointed mortal sorrow. At best, it could mean man is appointing something. But let's move on. Enosh, mortal. Enosh is really just a synonym for Adam. It just means human, humanity, man. And then sorrow. This is inaccurate. Canaan does not mean sorrow. Canaan is either a hypochoristic or a diminutive form of the name Cain. So it could be Caincito, Lil Cain, or something like that. There's also a deity, a Sabaean deity named Canaan. So it does not mean sorrow. It is a reference to the name Cain. Moving on from there, we have Mahalalel, which is supposed to mean the blessed God. There's no definite article here, and it does not qualify the title God with the adjective blessed. It is actually saying praise of God or praising God in the participial form. So it does not mean the blessed God. From there, we move on to Jared, shall come down. Yered is probably related to the verbal root yarad, which means to go down. Other people think it is related to the Akkadian word for servant or enslaved person. Other people think it means something else. But most likely it comes from yarad, which means to go down. But the form that you decide this name occurs in has to do with whether or not this is future or past. More than likely, it just means has come down. But it can also mean shall come down. But we already know that Mahalalel does not mean the blessed God, so it's already going to screw up some attempt to use Mahalalel as the subject of a clause. It doesn't function that way. Moving on. Enoch means teaching / discipling. Not really. Chenoch comes from a verbal root that means to initiate or something like that. So it is somewhat related to that, but not quite. It certainly is not participial in form, so it cannot mean that the blessed God shall come down doing this in the gerund form. So it does not fit into the sentence at all. So from there, we have Methuselah, his death shall bring. This is inaccurate. We could interpret Methuselah, according to the folk interpretation, as his death shall send, but to send is the opposite of to bring. And shalach definitely means to send and not to bring towards oneself. But more than likely, this is actually based on the word for man or human, and then some deity named Shalach, or that has the epithet or title Shalach. So man of a deity named or referred to as Shalach is more likely what's going on with that name. And then we have Lamech, which does not mean despairing. Again, we've got a gerund here, a verbal noun, and that's not what the form is at all, but we don't really know the etymology of Lamech. It could be related to an Arabic word that means a strong man, but we really don't have a good idea. There is no etymology for Lamech that is widely agreed upon. And then we have Noah, which is supposed to mean rest and comfort here, but it means rest or comfort, depending on which verbal root ultimately you derive the name Noach from. It does not mean both at the same time. It means one or the other. But because Missler was not an expert in Hebrew, didn't really know what he was talking about, he felt he had the license to just massage these words to the degree he even got any of them right. Most of these are inaccurate etymologies for these names, but he felt he was at liberty to massage these names to make them fit into a sentence. And his sentence he presented as the gospel message, and the reality is that there is no such sentence present in these names. He got most of the etymologies of the names wrong anyway, and where he got the etymologies close to being right, he misrepresented their form just because he needed to squeeze them into this sentence that he made up. Now, if you would like an actual scholarly discussion of the names that we find in the beginning of Genesis in the primeval history, I would recommend Richard Hess's 2009 book, Studies in the Personal Names of Genesis 1 through 11. But again, this is all entirely made up and is not accurate. And the fit for this video has been Purple Rain.